Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, I've got two guests coming in tonight. One very familiar face you'll see there, and I'm going to introduce him in just a second. But let me pop the second guest in. We were having some technical problems, and I'm going to start with him at the bottom of the screen. Chris, let's see if we can hear you, man. How are you doing?
Let's see if we can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Loud and clear. Great, man. Well, let me mute you for a while you're getting set up there, and then we'll talk with Gav. Gav, the Oracle, you had a bit of a break from rugby betting, but you contacted me during the week. You said, I'm back. There's a top-class internationals taking place this weekend. Are you looking forward to getting back into the action?
Yeah, but I've still got not much money. Got one more school payment to make, then I got a holiday to pay for, and a little bit of debt, and then I'll be a new person next year. So yeah, quite excited.
Excellent, and let's go back down to Chris as well. Chris, I think we got you on properly now at the Crow Tips on Twitter. Chris, good to have you back on the show. Plenty of quality rugby to look forward to this weekend. I'm not going to ask you up front for your bets, but you fancy a few things strong?
Yeah. Good to be back. Thanks, Brent. Of course, always love being here. Yeah, got a good lineup this week, and there's a few bets that I do really, really fancy. So yeah.
Excellent, and welcome to all the boys in the live chat. Mark on early as always. He says, "Come on, Ireland." We got someone else, Sharp Brain, and Mark also saying that the Oracle looks quite a bit younger. Gav, quite a compliment for you there. I've got to say that he's right. You do look a little bit younger. What you been up to?
So when I shave and get a haircut, all the girls in the office reckon I'm 32 instead of 50. So yes, I get compliments every time, and I think it's because I don't do it very often. That's a surprise to a lot of people.
Okay, no, excellent. Yeah, you sound like me. I always say that to my wife. People are starting to think that I'm her son, and she doesn't take it too kindly at all, I must tell you. Gents, let's get into the first game, Chris, and I'm going to start with you. And the first international we're going to talk about this weekend is Scotland against South Africa. I priced this game, Scotland plus 6.5. That's pretty much where the line opened up. There was some money. I can tell you that you can get South Africa minus 4.5. I tipped it at Sportingbet on the Good for the Game preview this morning. That has now gone. Sportingbet have gone 5.5, but Sunbet, for example, have gone 4.5. This line I took from Player Bets at 5.5, but that's more or less where we're looking. So we seem to have reached that point where money's coming for both sides of the line. What do you make of this one? Scots beating Australia, of course, last week, and South Africa beating Wales by 5.
Yeah, Brent. I think the Wales-South Africa game went pretty much according to plan by my view. Yeah, I mean, we probably could have won it more, but we don't go to Cardiff and blow Wales away, even with their changes and stuff. I wasn't expecting us to do so. But even so, I actually thought South Africa played a lot better than I thought they would, to be honest. For some reason, I thought we would struggle more. Like, I think if you look at the balance of play, the conditions, I think we were, I believe we were the better side for sure. And then going to the Scotland game, Australia, I think most people were on Scotland. I was on the fence, but called Australia purely on their bench. I just thought that they would, if they came to the party, they would finish it, and they didn't. And Scots played super well. I don't think Australia were very good. So in saying that, and I think the books are great. I think we're a great side. I think we're difficult to beat, but I have enough from Scotland now that they're going to give us a good game. So for me, 5 points is very high. I wouldn't be betting the World Capped. I think there'll be a lot of theme from me on this. I think a lot of games are World Capped, but I think Springboks do win this game, but I'm not confident at all about beating the cap. For me, this is a 3-4-point game either side. Much like Australia, I should have probably been more confident that the try bet either side 6 points at 2.5 was like super golden, and I don't see any difference in this game either. I think Scots have proven that they don't go away. They're very, very difficult. I know there's views on Alton Yankees. I'm at an international level. I'm not an Alton Yankees fan. I think he's going to be put under pressure. I see Watson dropped as a big thing, big factor. I mean, our bench is very good, but the Scots aren't going to go away. I think we'll win the game. I don't think we win it by 5. So for me, at 2.50, if you get the try bet, any team between 1 and 6, put Granny's pension on it. I don't think anyone's getting separation. Yeah, I know we want to say the Boks will, but I think Scots have proven enough that they're good enough to hold us and potentially beat us. So I think I know where Gavin's going to come on when he comes on next, but I don't see us running away with it, and neither do I see Scotland. So for me, the 1 to 6 either team is at 2.50 if you can get it. If you even get it even money, that's the bet of one of the bet of the weekends.
Well, you can get it just shy of 12 to 10 on Sunbet, and there you got the 7 points. So you got the extra point either side of the line. So yeah, you either go for the 15 to 10. So another bet here, which Southpaw suggested on the Good for the Game forum, which I see is shortened as well. He went straight away early in the week. He said this is a South Africa 1 to 12, much like Wales last week, and he took 5 to 4.
Yeah.
Have a look around now. See sort of 13 to 10. So certainly a good bet there. But let me get Gavin get his views in. But before that, just welcome to a few more boys in the live chat. Good to see Guy Stone in there. Yes, Guy, it was my birthday this week. They called me the Doyle Brunson of sports betting. So yeah, I had a pretty good day yesterday. I'm looking forward to a few beers.
Happy birthday, Brent. Didn't realize. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
happy
thanks
21st,
very much,
mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And welcome to all the other boys, Dino and Alex as well, joining us in the chat. Gav, let's get to you though on the Scotland game. Plus 5.5 here. Are you going to tell me they got the wrong favourite? I don't think so.
No, they don't. Scotland definitely not a level bet with South Africa. In fact, I don't think we've ever seen that before. I know that they were against Australia last week. So I asked people asked me what I thought in that game last week. The Scotland game I'm talking about. I liked Scotland. In fact, I liked Australia less than I liked Scotland. But after watching the game, although I was right with my call, I got to say I think the Scottish were quite lucky. The Australian guys getting over the line there. I know that. I know I saw your comments, Brent. You guys were very happy with the ref. I don't have any issues with the ref. And in fact, I quite liked his confidence and his arrogance, if anything.
Remind me about the ref. I don't recall being unhappy about the ref.
The French referee sending that guy off.
No. I didn't have an issue with the ref. I had an issue with the TMO. I thought it was a ridiculous decision.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So the Scots are a little bit lucky there. I was also on Scotland, but no issue with the French.
I think Scotland were very lucky. Actually, they at no point in the game did they look like they were going to run away with it. I think they absolutely scraped home, and Australia weren't that great either. They were okay in patches. So for me, this is more a bet about. I think people are overrating the Scottish team. I mean, I did last week. Didn't have a bet, but I certainly overrated them. I thought they'd be a lot better than they were. And South Africa, on the other hand, I know that I watched your show last week. I know that a lot of you guys were on the plus. My kid asked me; he had a small bet on the minus. I thought the minus would arrive. I was quite confident on that one. And after watching the game, thinking about it, I think Wales were very lucky that South Africa didn't win by 15 or 18 points. A lot of penalties. They were absolutely nowhere in the scrums. South Africa, in my opinion, played a much better game. It's now their second game on tour. They're playing a weaker opposition than Wales currently, in my opinion. So, yes, I do expect the minus here. In fact, I'm going to suggest a cover bet, which I did on my little show last night. If minus is your main bet, put a small little 20% on Scotland to win the game, because if South Africa don't get it right, Scotland will probably win, and they'll probably win by about 10. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be close. In fact, I'm the complete opposite to Chris here. I don't think we're going to see a 2 or 3 point game here. We're going to see a double-digit South African win, or we're going to see a double-digit Scottish win. I don't know.
Perfect.
I like South Africa. In fact, we've had no history showing us that Scotland will ever do well against us. There's no consistency. They've won the odd game, or they've done okay in some games, but there's nothing. The South African team is very good.
Yeah, I must say, to me, this is a very different Scotland team to ones that we've seen in the past. So I do give the Scots a chance. But Gav, I'm with you. Yeah, I actually think the Springboks. I look at that Springbok bench. I look at the Scottish team, the Scottish pack. I think it's going to be a very tight game for a long period. But I can see the Boks taking control and pulling away. I tend to agree with you. If I looked at it last week, I was on Wales Plus. Those who are on the newsletter will know it was my best bet of the weekend. I got out of that one. I was never really in danger because the Boks were always trailing. But I came away from that match thinking I was fortunate to get that handicap on Wales, because the Springboks dominated the scrums. I think they got a penalty for virtually every scrum that they had. So it was one of those games where the box looked a bit rusty to me, and I think that they're going to be able to turn it on at some stage against the Scots. Just two comments I want to pick up on. Alex making the point of Finn Russell looking for 80 minutes. He nearly pulled that third test back for the Lions, and I agree with you 100% there, Alex. I think Finn Russell is absolutely brilliant, and he's going to give the box plenty to think about. But I do expect this box pack to get on top at some stage. And just quickly, just to touch on Built to Banter saying France killed me last week. Guys, I had a 15-1 accumulator and a 12-1 accumulator, both going out. The one was a last leg, the other one was a penultimate leg, but both going out. I needed France 33 points or more. I took cover under 33.5. I had all sorts of permutations. It looked like they're going to score at the end there, and they didn't. But I'm not going to harp on that for too much longer. But absolutely heartbreaking. But I must tell you, a successful weekend for me because all of the other legs of the Accas are obviously back. So I did have a pretty good weekend last time. I'm going to tell you, I think the Boks are going to win this comfortably. I'm with you there, Mark. Boks by 10 plus. I've taken the -4.5 Springboks. I think they're going to win well. Yes, Chris?
No, yeah, another good bet, and I do believe because our bench is great. And I think Marcus has maybe done this 4 or 5 times this season. Even Marcus to score the last try is a very good bet. I mean, I think last week was a very good opportunity for that as well. And if you look at Saturday's game as well, I think Marcus coming on with a last try is also a big play if you want a little bit of a higher value bet there. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I agree. I would have said the same with Wales, but I don't know. We come to northern hemisphere, and Scots their tails be up. They made changes. I don't think we'll have it all our own way. I hope we do, but I'm not calling that we're going to go and pull away from Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, 4.5, 5.5. It's not a massive cap, so I do see Scotland keeping it tight, but I do see the Boks pulling away.
It's one of those tricky caps where you could be in it right at the end, right? If Scots we ahead by 9 or one score at the end changes that cap.
Yeah.
Those cap. That 5-6.7 cap is so tricky because it's normally in play right to the last minute. So you will see.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately a cap's a 9 to 10 shot. So I mean, you do expect it unless the bookies get it wrong. But there's always a chance it will be. But you've got to put your head down at some point.
South Africa 1 to 12. I don't think we're going to lose, but again, like we said, South Africa 1 to 12, I think is a great bet. I don't think we're going to pull away. I think Scots are going to give us enough of a fight, so that would be a better bet for me, 1 to 12. Also, another bet, by the way. Sorry, I can probably see this being a slugfest. Again, this is a very not all bookies offer this market, but if penalties. Kicks, if you get around 5-6, maybe at around, okay, I know I use decimals. If you get 1.6, 1.7, I can see a good 5 or 6 penalties potentially in the first half going on there. I think it could be a tight first half and a few penalties exchanged. I think that if you can get some good value on that bet, I know Oracle's not keen on that one, but it's been a successful bet for me in the past when I've seen the right match for that. And this looks like a good
penalties awarded only, or the actual kicks?
No, the actual kicks converted. So 5 converted kicks, yeah. I don't know what it will be. I reckon it will be about 5-6, depending on what bookie odds. It could be, like if I get anything over 175 for 5 penalties, I'm getting involved. But as I said, I could just look out for that. If whoever's on the show listening, have a look for that. I think that's a big runner. I think you could probably see at least 4 penalties in the first half, and that could come home by 60 minutes.
Yeah, I must say, I do tend to agree with you there. There could be a lot of penalties early. It's one of those things, it's one of those bets you take, and you just hope that one team doesn't pull away, because then the other team starts chasing by kicking to the corners and that sort of stuff. So it certainly could be a good one. Just giving you one other bet for this game, which I was certainly considering when I did the preview, but the market wasn't out yet. South Africa's second half handicap, -3.5 at just shy of even money. That's with Sunbet. But, being on the -4.5, I'm not going to get further involved on that one now. Alex coming in and saying he also likes the Scotland halftime Boks full-time at 5-1. And yeah, that's quite a nice one, and would probably also play into my theory that the Boks are going to have a strong second half.
12-9 half-time, 21-15 full-time.
Yeah, so you're looking for a low. I see. I'm not convinced this is going to be that much of a low-scoring game. I think, and I think Sharp Brain made 2 comments. He said he likes overs, and he also said Finn Russell, he can't do much without the ball. But I do think Scotland are going to come at us hard. And I think by the same token that's going to create opportunities for the Springboks to hit them on the counter-attack. So I'm very much leaning towards overs here.
How much do you think Scotland will score, though? That's my question, because I still think we'll be strong on defence. You're going to need Scotland to score 20 at least, right?
Unfortunately, we haven't got a line yet, but I just think it's going to be. I'll see what the line is. Probably 45.5, 46.5, and I can see this perhaps being a little bit higher scoring. If you think the Lions tests were priced around 40.5, 41, I think this will be a good handful of points more. And I can see Scotland scoring some points against us.
Overs, I would agree. If it's 46, 47, overs, I would play. I'm
how many tries? How many tries do you think Scotland will score, Chris?
0.
1.
0.
1.
Okay.
One
I'm
max.
willing to bet either of you guys that they score 2 or more.
Nah, I'll happily take that. Yeah, confident?
Yeah, I'm confident.
Scotland score 2. Yeah,
I'll say Scotland score over
Our
1.5.
own tries a thing in rugby, Brent, because otherwise.
Nice try. Just welcome to Steph joining us. No problem, Steph. A lot of guys pop into the show a little bit late, but let's move on. We've hopped on this game quite a bit. We've got a bit of a split panel here. We've got a bit of a split live chat as well. And let's have a look at the next game. And it's Italy plus 7.5 against Argentina. Gavin, have you applied your mind to this one? Let me tell you, first of all, that there was 12.5, I think, plus 12.5 Italy. The Milan moved right into 5.5. And now Argentina have named their side, and it's not as experimental as people were thinking. So we've got a line sitting now of about 7.5. What do you make of this one? It's not going to be one of my highlights of the weekend.
Well,
the same time,
I watched the show last week, and I saw a lot of you guys were on the French minus, and I must be honest, I was scratching my head. I've actually been on the right side of the Argentinians against the French. In fact, we can go back to the 2007 World Cup was the first game. I think the handicap was around about 8 or 9 or even 10, I think, and Argentina won the game. They beat them again in the tournament. They've got a bad record with Argentina. I was quite impressed with the Argentinians. In fact, the French played all right. They weren't that rubbish to me. They obviously won the game, but they didn't beat the handicap. Yeah, I saw all the news this week. But as you know, I'm a Wednesday and Thursday punter rather than a Monday and Tuesday punter. So I never get involved in those early handicaps. And in a case like this, I was never a plus Italy punter. If I'm going to have a bet on this game, I haven't decided yet, but I'm a Argentina minus here. I think they're better than people think they are. They play us, they play the New Zealanders, they play the Australians every year. They were a bit disappointing in the game. I can't remember who they played, but it wasn't great. But this, I think they were disrespected last week with a massive handicap, and quite frankly, minus 7.5 is almost disrespect as well. It should be a double-digit handicap, and I don't think we've ever seen them field a very weak team unless they played Chile or Brazil or something. I don't know. So I'd be on the minus here, not massive, but I do think it's the right way to go.
Excellent. Well, I just want to
sorry, one more thing. Italy got absolutely taught a lesson last week. I mean, they were absolutely rubbish. I don't know.
Well, New Zealand was so bad.
I was going to say, I didn't watch the game, but Italy were in it for a lot longer than people would have expected.
No, they didn't need to be. They didn't need to be. That was because of New Zealand, not because of them.
That was 100% New Zealand sleeping and deciding to only wake up for the last part of dinner.
No, Italy,
rubbish.
But Chris, we'll come to you now, but I want to interrupt the show because a mate of mine popped on, Kevin Spector on Facebook. I hope he's still watching. Kev, I'm going to bring up one of your favorite photos. This is from me at a reunion, which unfortunately Kevin, being in the United States, could not attend a while ago. And Kev, I know you love this photo so much of me with all the girls from school there. So I'm just bringing it up for you to have a quick look. I mean, this is a photo that just refuses to die on Facebook. People share it every year, time and time again. And I'm just bringing that up for my mate Kevin. But back to the rugby, boys. Chris, plus 7.5. Yeah, what are you doing?
No, I agree. Agree with Oracle. Just a few reasons. Italy are all passion and no ability. I'm sorry to say, who's ever watching from Italy, they have a limit. Their limit's not top 8 in the world. I'm sorry to say, they're all passion. They can fist pump and puff their chest out at 30-0 down when they get a turnover. Great for them. Look at the scoreboard, mate.
No need to be sorry, Chris, unless the mafia is after you. No need to be sorry. That's
why I don't want Berlusconi's number on my head, but it's fine. And I love their passion. I do. I love that they get all and they all, chest each other in the chest and headbutt each other when they're 30-0 down. But like, come on, you got to win some rugby games. Like they don't have the ability. Argentina, for me, they haven't. I think we can all agree they're not the Argentina that we knew last year. But this is, I think, where I like to talk about spots, about where teams are when they come to meet each other. And for me, this is an important game for Argentina. They need this game far more than probably Italy do. And this is their opportunity to probably put it, let's face it, a year, and come back and come out and say, we Argentina, and I tell you, Italy have 2 or 3 ideas up their sleeve, and then that's it. So I think Argentina are a better rugby side. And handicap, it's like, I think I would be on the Argentina cap here. I'm not going to say it's my most confident, just because it can become scrappy. But Argentina are not losing this game, and I think if points, I was trying to look around and trying to work out the points. Like, it starts to scream at me as an unders game, and I'm an overs punter, so I look for that normally. But this looks like it could be like a 27-20 type of Argentina win. I think Italy will be there, fist pumping and high-fiving each other at every scrum, but I think Argentina win.
Okay, interesting. I'm not going to comment too much on this game because I'm actually waiting for the handicap to go out. I would have liked a bit of plus 12.5 Italy at the start, but at 7.5, I'm probably not going to get involved. I do think, and based on the comments in the live chat, I think the money is going to come for Argentina here because they haven't named as weak a side as people expected. I think that line might move up, but I don't know. I think Italy under the new coach might just have something for us here. But let's not harp on this game, gents, because we've got an absolute belter of a game coming up after this. And Chris, I'm going to start with you. Ireland plus 10.5 New Zealand. I kept this game 8.5, so the line did come out a bit higher than when I expected, but it hasn't budged all week. It's been sitting at 10.5, and it just hasn't moved. Okay,
so just quick, I don't know if you have, because I'm a bit limited. Do you have points markets yet for this game?
No,
I've heard it's around 47.
No.
Okay.
Oh, is it? Well, hopefully someone in the live chat can confirm that. Yeah.
Yeah, all season, I'm not deterring from this. I don't bet against New Zealand, and I'm not going to on this game. For one, New Zealand for me are still a much better side than Ireland. 2, they were lambasted for that Italian performance. There is going to be a New Zealand backlash. Yes, this is another spot where Ireland can catch New Zealand cold, potentially, but I don't believe that it's going to be that straightforward. All season long, I did it through Australia, through the box. If I can get Ireland at 20 points, it'll be an Ireland over 20 points. I believe it's good weather. Gibson Park being in the starting lineup for Ireland means they're going to go for it. If they go for it, it means that New Zealand are going to get opportunities. They do give opportunities. They give you 2 tries. The Ireland have got 2 tries in the bag already. If they're really up for it and New Zealand are sleeping, they will get a third. The cap, if you want to go on cap, I'm not betting on cap. The plus 10 is a great bet. I'm not betting it because New Zealand can win by 20. But if they win by 20, might be 42, 22, 25. And if you bet on the Ireland points, you win in. And I've had this strategy with New Zealand all year, and I'm not budging. Take them on the opposition points. You probably won't go wrong. I'm hoping for 20. 24 is a lot. But if you get anywhere around 20, you lump on Ireland points here because the weather will be good as well. And if Ireland bring the form from last week, they're giving New Zealand a great run. But it's New Zealand. I don't care. I know you go coaching and Foster, blah, blah, blah. New Zealand are still the best team.
Yeah, I think you'll get around 20 points for your Ireland points. Yeah, and I quite like that strategy. New Zealand, I'm with you there. They're such a dangerous team. So going against them is often tough. And at the end of the day,
I just never have, and I never will until New Zealand put a 5th team out. I'm not going to go against New Zealand. Sorry, but
I am. But let me tell you this right now. I'm going Ireland plus 10.5. Make an absolute.
No. I would recommend that bet. Not my money, though.
You can't recommend a bet and not take it. So you'd rather stick to your Ireland points. You can't recommend a bet and not take it.
I'm on Ireland points. You can go have your plus 10.
Ireland points. No, I'll probably be on both. But I do like the plus 10.5. I actually think Ireland can push New Zealand. And I think they can push them virtually all the way. But let's see what the Oracle does. He's shaking his head. And I think he's shaking his head at me and not you, Chris.
Correct. There's no Irish push here. No, Ireland won't come close here. I think this is, I don't know. I actually thought the Japan plus would arrive last week. I thought it was quite high, but yeah, they were worse than Italy. They were absolute rubbish. No, Ireland, no, they won't come close here. This will be closer to 20 than it will be to 10. The backlash, you're right. The New Zealanders are going to get a backlash. It's not even the coach. I don't think the coach got anything to do with this, actually. I think it's the public.
I agree. It's not. I don't think people go on about the coach, but it's New Zealand, man.
Yeah, I think the country is not happy. I just
they were lambasted place. They won by like 40 points, but they were killed in the media. Killed. You know New Zealand rugby, right?
Absolutely.
They're coming back.
Exactly, because they should have won by more.
Correct.
The country's aware of the minus on their shoulders.
They were rubbish.
Yeah, lesson learned.
You're saying the minus. You're saying the minus.
Absolutely. All the way.
Okay, so I'm going against the boys. I'm very strong. I like Ireland.
More confident than I am on Argentina.
And Mark just, I suppose he is from Ireland, so I've got to be careful. But he does say that New Zealand been on the road for 3 months, and he thinks Ireland will do it. I think Ireland have really targeted this one.
I'm just going to sort of jump in there. If people have been on the road for 3 months, I'm going to suggest they've been on the road for a year. Because none of these people are even staying.
What does it matter 3 months? Do you think they're sitting there going, "Oh, I've been on the road"? No, they don't give a shit. They just want to win the next test.
What I'm saying is, I think this year they actually used to it more than they are in other years. Because
exactly, they're sitting there. They're not sitting there going, "Oh, I want to go home." They're like, "I want to be Ireland." No way.
So just bringing in Dave there, he said 52,000 people back at Lansdowne Road on Saturday. I didn't realize they were playing at Lansdowne. It's going to be rocking. Ireland will deliver a performance. Does Gav want to bet? No, Gav doesn't bet anymore, man. He owes me too much money still. He has to wait until he's paid his school fees before he starts betting with me again. But anyway, there we go. We got a very split panel here. Well, I suppose you would argue the panel are 100% united and the host is just against him. I'm going for Ireland on the plus there. Right, Gav, we'll stick with you, mate, and move on. Let's move on to the next game. 12.5 points. I've seen as low as 10.5, and that is England up against Australia. So this handicap, I just want to quickly, Gavin, before I start you off, tell you what I capped this game. England minus 4.5. So, I mean, there's a huge difference between what I capped it and where it turned out here. So, Gav, take us through this here. I mean, are the bookmakers underestimating Australia? They do have a few injuries and perhaps overestimating the English a little bit?
Yes, and we saw it in the cricket yesterday. Oh, my gosh. They started that game at 5-10. They got... what's it called? New Zealand were 2 down. They were 1-10 on the exchanges. I was having a look. I was blown away. And we saw it with the World Cup rugby as well. The English punters will punt England into absolute oblivion. So whatever price they are, you can seriously pull out the divide sign on your calculator because it's always overpriced. As is New Zealand most of the time, especially when they're at home. They're definitely overpriced for what they should be. Over handicapped 16 instead of 14, that kind of thing. So, look, I do think England will win this game, but I was impressed with Australia. They had a few issues last week, and as I said, Scotland, in my opinion, were quite lucky. I would tend to agree that the plus is the right way to go here. I've probably got to think about it a little bit more, but it's difficult to take England at double-digit minus against the Southern Hemisphere team. I would suggest the plus here. Can Australia win the game? Of course they can. Will England run away with it? I don't think so. This is the game that's probably going to be the close one of the weekend. So this is the, you guys are talking about that 7 point either way. If you're that kind of punter, I'm going to tell you this is the game to take it.
Okay, so you reckon that this is going to be a tight one. Chris, yourself on this one? 12.5 points. For me, it's just too big. I think some Southpaw posting on the Good for the Game forum that he reckons Australia can make a game of this. And I tend to agree. I think they can push England here. And I'll be surprised at the 12.5 if it doesn't come in for Australia. But for me, this is a game where I'm looking points. I think conditions are going to be reasonable at Twickenham. And I can see Marcus Smith at fly for England playing an attacking game. And Australia are very good at creating chances. So this could be over 4.5, over 5.5 tries bet for me.
Yeah. And what I can see, the weather's going to be good and Paper's on the whistle. So I think he's an overs ref. So all of those things considered, yes. Points are my first port of call here when I get the markets out. And when I started looking at this week, because I only started late in the week, I'm like Oracle. I'm not a Monday punter. I'm a 2 hour before punter, and I actually had odds to win. And then when I capped it myself, I had it at 3 at 5, exactly like you. So when I logged on whenever I did, I saw 12. I nearly fell off my chair. I was like, whoa, what? No, here we go. Okay. Yes, Australia have injuries, sure, but attitude, right? 20 minutes of good attitude. You're international rugby player. Come on, live with it. Okay. Also, England have a very good record. I just remember the World Cup when Australia destroyed them and crushed their dreams all those years ago. But Australia after that World Cup have been bad. For me, this is a very different Australia team. I agree. I had them to beat Scotland. Okay, 50. Like I like the 7 point either way. I thought their bench would be better, and they would be better. You got Marcus Smith finally playing. You got Ben Youngs at 9. His old mate Farrell at 12. I won't even go down that road. Is that going to work? Tuolangi's at wing. Yeah, I love Tuolangi. I would have loved Tuolangi at 12 next to Marcus Smith with Kerr at 9. No one's going to stand a chance, but I'm not Eddie Jones, right? So I'm not an international coach here. 12 is way too, just purely on rugby, and everything, 12 is too high. I know lots of people are in Australia. I think I've seen it. Injuries, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've seen that all before. It's not a 20 minutes of people coming to the party. Plus 12 is I had it at 7 max, Brent. 5 what I thought. Plus 12 is one of my best bets of the weekend. Australia are going to make a game of this. England got flattered by old Tonga. Oh, we scored 5 tries in 5 minutes. Well done. They had a hard test against Scotland. Australia, they were rusty. They're coming to the party. Good luck, England.
Right, a confident call there on the handicap there for Chris. I must say, as I said, sitting out the cap at this stage, I would be leaning towards Australia, but I'm looking at points in this game. I think we're going to get an entertaining game with a number of points.
Did you get 52? 52-ish, 54? Would you go over? What do you think?
52, 54 is getting a little bit high for me, but if I can get somewhere around 48, I'll be looking at overs here. But let's see.
I think you're going to get about 51.
Yeah, possibly. Then I'd probably have to consider. I'd probably also look at. I'd probably look at one of the team's points then as well. I tend to prefer betting on just one team.
I agree.
We'll see where the value lies there. Right, let's go to the next game, Chris. We've got a big handicap here for you. Minus 39.5 points. This is France up against Georgia. I mean, Georgia, from what I can tell, the last few times I've seen them play have been pretty woeful. I guess the question really is, what team are France going to put out? I haven't seen if they've named their team yet. Yeah. And, what sort of mindset France will have. Because it is a big cap, but definitely attainable. I think Scotland hammered Georgia a while ago by a lot more than this.
Yeah. These are one of those games, right? These high handicaps. It's not a very confident call. But again, just purely on where I stand, I think Georgia could probably frustrate France. This is one of these games where France can disappear for 20 minutes, 30 minutes easily, right? And Georgia are going to be psyched. So for me, 40 points is too high. So if I was to bet, I haven't decided yet, it would be definitely on the plus. Because because I just think Georgia probably will come firing, and these are one of these games where France have never taken these games seriously, for what I can understand, and I don't see them doing it now. Like if they win by 20, they go home and have a croissant, or whatever, and they're happy. And Georgia are going to come out firing.
Yeah, Gav, I suppose I agree with what Chris is saying. The only question is whether Georgia had the personnel to come out firing, if I can put it that way, because. At the end of the day, we can all want to come out firing, and I think, and I can't really. I'm not saying that they don't have the personnel. I don't really know this Georgian team that well, but from recent results that I've seen, I think they might be. And Alex is coming in. He's saying a similar French team. And the last time Shark Brain says they put 60 points on Georgia. So going to be interesting to see the French mindset. Oracle, is this a game you're getting involved in?
I could. I'm just looking at some results here because I remembered some of them. So the last big team that they played was us in South Africa, We beat them 40 points to 9. I can't remember what the handicap was, but I also think it was around about this level.
It was the same handicap, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I remember suggesting that the minus was probably the right way to go. Yeah, that was, according to the sheet here, that was the last time they played rugby, was against us.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's switching me, by the way. I think you're right. Georgia haven't played, France have.
Yeah.
That changes my mind, to be honest.
And also they've got Fiji next weekend, which is a game that they'd like to think that they'd be competitive at. So, yeah, this for me would be an absolute half uniter, and I would go with a minus here, but there's no confidence. It sounds about right. They could probably win by 50. They could also win by 37, and you're going to get irritated. So, yeah, the minus feels right because I think you would be on a roller coaster of hell if you sat on the plus here.
You're right.
It's one of the, if you're going to take the plus bet here, don't watch the game. Come back afterwards, go look at flash score, get the result, and cry or don't cry. But watching it's going to be horrendous for you.
Yeah, you're right. It is one of those games. It's sometimes like if you got unders as well, it's almost better not to watch the game. Then you can fast forward and you see a team on attack, and then you see a scrum, and you're happy. And I mean, just talking about next week's game, I see France have got New Zealand next week. I cannot wait to talk about that one next week. And looking very fast. I suppose what happens this week will also have a bit of an influence on the betting on that one, but we won't harp on that now. If anything, gents, I'm leaning towards France on the minus here. I'm kind of with you guys here in the sense that not a big punt. But having said that, at this stage of the weekend, I'll probably be either looking to make more money or chasing, and I'll probably get involved in the points lines or something along those lines. Chris, sorry, you had something else on that one?
Yeah, to be honest, before we started this chat, I hadn't looked at this game in a lot of detail at all. I was on the plus originally, and I now am on the minus, just kind of like now that we talk about it. And I think for France's preparation towards the World Cup and what we know of France, this is the type of game France would win by 15 points normally. Sometimes they would just not be interested, right? If they come out and destroy this cap and destroy Georgia by 60, 70, it's building way towards that justification that they're going to be very, very good favorites for the World Cup. And I still think they are, but I think this is the type of game they need to come to the party with, right? If they show us that you care, show us that you're good, put Georgia away. Come on, France. That's what I say,
Oh, well, let's see what happens. I think just going back to the last game, Marius, just making the point, England beat Oz by more than 12 points the last 4 times they made a Twickenham. I was also looking at that, Marius. I must say, and it's also one of the things that may be a little bit reserved about the plus is that England do have a good record against Oz at home at the moment. Let's move on.
I'm going to suggest, Brent. I'm going to suggest, Brent, that the Australian team this year is a lot better than the last few, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years that they have had. This is definitely the best of the last 6 years of Australian rugby right now.
I agree.
Fair enough. I think it is a better side. Yeah, it's missing a couple. I guess what I'm saying is when I first saw the 12.5, I was going to climb all over it. And the more I think about the game, the more I think, okay, let's wait for the points lines. I'm not rushing into it. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards that. There's just a few signals out there that says, just be careful. This might be, as Brendan O'Connell likes to say, the bookies like to lay a few traps, and this could be one of them.
Are you guys Marcus Smith fans? Because now everyone's finally the guy gets his start. He makes a difference. Do you guys watch that? Do you follow that?
That's the guy that got the 8 out of 8 kicks in that.
If you watch Harlequins, the guy is amazing. The guy is fantastic. But I don't. If anyone knows me, I don't have any time for Ben Youngs or Owen Farrell on either side of him. And he has Danny Kerr and Estes and at Harlequins and in an environment where he can fly. I mean, if he was a Crusaders player in New Zealand, he's the best player in the world. But I'm interested to see how. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Like I'm not so convinced. I love him
very highly, but I want to see him perform. But you know what? A guy's got to prove himself at international level first before we could start calling him.
But he's not in an England shirt. I'm sorry. The dream is over.
What did you say there, Chris? Sorry.
No, I agree with
over?
he needs to put it at international level, but if he was in New Zealand, maybe Australia, he's gonna go to another level. Is in England shirt, is he gonna go there? Come on, guys, I'm hoping he does, because he's so good, and as a pure rugby supporter and fanatic, love what that guy does. But in England shirt, and then you got Youngs and Farrell and Jones.
Yeah, you don't rate Farrell.
don't
There
know.
was a time when I thought Farrell was the best player in the world. I'll tell you that right now. So
For what?
I would have had him first on
I'm
my team
joking,
sheet when
I'm
he was
joking,
cooking. No, when he was kicking a few years ago, Farrell couldn't miss with his kicks, and he's not the player he was. But yeah, I think England are good stuff. But Marcus Smith, I rate him very highly. Love watching him play, and I'm really hoping he kicks on into the national level. And to be honest, I expect him to. I expect him to do well. Pleased he's been given his chance. Let's see what happens. I think at the end of the day, 12.5. Yeah, it's an interesting cap. You're probably going to get a bit more support for Australia on those lines. But let's move into the last game, gentlemen, as far as the internationals go. We've got Wales minus 13.5 against Fiji. And Chris, I'll start with you on this one. This game, I think, taking place on Sunday. And I think the French game might be as well, or it might be taking place late Saturday night. But from minus 13.5, do we get involved in the Welsh here? They're a side, for me, that struggle to put teams away.
I totally agree. Absolutely agree. And we can go look at stats, and I do like stats, but stats will give you confidence on either side. Just purely for this match, where Wales are, what they've done against New Zealand, I think Wales cover this cap. Normally, we've discussed this before, we say Wales get brought into the dogfight with the minnows, right? And I know what I can see. I think that's what we're saying. I just, for this, maybe it's not even like a statistical punt here. I just think Wales are going to come again, kind of like Argentina needs to put Italy away. Wales need to come put Fiji away, and I think they do that. And I think that's just purely me watching rugby and trying to feel what's going on with the guys and where they are mentally. Right? I think this is their opportunity. They've struggled. They want, Wales is like a roller coaster, winning. No one rates them. Then they win the Six Nations. Then they're nowhere, and they'll be there. They made some also interesting changes. You got Cuthbert back. I respect that guy. I know probably a lot of people don't. I have a lot of respect for Cuthbert. Josh Adams at 13. I don't know. Fiji could be anything. I like the minus in short. Sorry, Brent.
Okay, so you like the minus. Gavin, have you had a look at this game?
Absolutely. I was a Wales minus punter against Fiji for about 3 games in the 90s and early 2000s until I saw them draw 16-all with these South Sea Islanders. I was horrified that day. I think I cried for 3 days afterwards. I had a big bet that game. There's absolutely no way on this earth that I'll ever take Wales minus against Fiji, because first of all they won't give me -1, and that's probably the highest I'll go. Honestly, Shark Brain is 100% right. These games have all been close. I think if I remember correctly, there was a World Cup game where they were nilled about 50 or 60 or something like that. But other than that, they're always close. And Fiji haven't been terrible this year. They had a great result against New Zealand. I think they scored a record points. I think they got 27 against New Zealand. I'm going to suggest this Fiji team is probably better than people think. If it is the full team, I don't really know. I mean, I look at a team sheet from Fiji. I don't recognize any of them. All the names look the same. I've got no idea. But if this is the regular team, and you've got to expect that the bookmakers have come out with a handicap that seems to be right where it should be. But I'm going to tell you that this has probably got a 90% probability of the plus arriving, just because of the kind of players they are and the kind of players Wales are. And they've obviously clocked them in the past, and I don't think it's going to be any different this weekend. However, in saying that, there's no ways I'm lumping massive money on this. This would be a small bet or a no bet, but don't be surprised if Fiji come close in this game.
I suppose this could be a game where you might want to look at points then as well. I haven't looked at conditions for this game, but if you've got decent conditions, I could see this. Fiji always play a nice, attractive game of rugby, and I've got a feeling that Wales will also play some running rugby against Fiji. I've certainly felt under their new coach they are trying to play a bit more of an expansive game. So might be one to have a look at points. I'll certainly get involved and post any bets on the Good for the Game forum there. Gents, that brings us to the end of the internationals. We will come back, obviously, to talk about the best bets. But there's a game that I'd actually forgotten about, which I've just quickly had a look at the betting now. And I know the conductor, Brendan Vessels, is quite excited about this one. It's the Toyota Challenge. Now, I will confess to not knowing too much about this, but what we got is the Cheetahs up against the Stormers. I think this game's taking place in Bloemfontein. And Gav, I don't know, were you even aware of this fixture that it was on? Have you had a look at it?
Yeah, I don't know what it's all about. I just want to say one more thing on the Wales game. Sorry, Brent.
Sure.
The Fijians, as I mentioned earlier, are playing Georgia next week. So I think they're going to be involved in this game, but they're also going to have an eye on next week because, as we know, with minnow teams, they're always going to try and target the fixture that they can win and that they've got more control over. They might even be a 60-minute team in this game, and maybe if they're losing by 2 or 3 at 60 minutes, you might want to take an in-running minus on Wales or whatever it is. But if Wales are running away with it, they'll probably give up. I don't know, but I still think it'll be close. But I've just remembered that game against Georgia next week. I have no idea what's going on here, Brent. This could be one of those fixed games where Cheetahs are given the victory in the change room, and Stormers will play around and try some moves. Who knows? I don't want to suggest there's fixed batching going on, but I certainly believe that games like this, where there's absolutely nothing. I know, but I'm not accusing anyone. What I'm saying, I'm suggesting it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think what you mean really is maybe the Stormers are not going to play this as if the victory,
but also the Cheetahs as well. I think I don't know what this is all about. So maybe the conductor can educate us and tell us exactly what's going on here, or maybe somebody else in the live chat over here. But what's happening to the Cheetahs? We don't know. The Cheetahs and the Kings and the Pumas, and I mean, there was talk that they were going to join this league, and we were going to have 20 of them, and now we got 16, and they're not playing. I mean, where are the Cheetahs going? Are they playing in New Zealand next year? I don't know. So you've got a whole lot of guys sitting around practicing and playing fun games against the Stormers and whoever else. I don't know. I mean, you remember, Brent, when they kicked the Lions out of Super Rugby 2013, they had the Lions Challenge, and they played a French team and they played an American team, and it was a big joke, man. That wasn't rugby.
I think the Cheetahs, I agree with you, Gav. I've got a feeling the Cheetahs, and maybe someone in the live chat can confirm, I've got a feeling there is some sort of lined up against sort of maybe lower tier European teams or something like that. I guess the point on this particular game is, what are the teams have been named, and there's a lot of names there I don't recognize. But, of the two sides, perhaps the Cheetahs will be more up for this than the Stormers. I guess for the Stormers, it's really just about waiting now for the United Rugby Championship to begin again. But I did see, I think it was the conductor who mentioned to me that there are even incentives for scoring points here. So what we've got to do here, guys, is very carefully watch the points lines. But as I think Shark Rain made the point there's not even betting with a lot of bookmakers. I can tell you I got the price of World Sports Betting. I don't know if anyone else is even out on this game.
Brent, you said there's incentives for scoring tries. Are they going to be handing out cash on the field after the game, like we saw in the PSL game? Because that'll be very interesting.
It would be interesting. I don't know. I actually don't know if it's for charity or what it is, but we've got to find out. But we won't spend too much time on this game. Gav, we're going to talk a little bit of NPC now. We shouldn't be too long. We're only 4 games. You want to hang on and give your best bets at the end?
Yeah, I'll listen. No problem. Got a beer here. I'm all right.
Okay, cool. Let's get into the NPC then with Chris. I know he's had a look at these games. We've got 4 matches on this weekend. And Chris, let's start off on Friday morning. Manawatu against Otago. We've got a points line of 46.5. And the handicap here, Manawatu underdogs at home, plus 2.5.
Yeah, Brent. So I did have a look, and handicap-wise, these games are very, very well capped. But for this game tomorrow morning, my view is, Otago have been very surprising this season. I believe they've been a lot better than we think they have been. They are an unders team. So if you look at 46.5, I think you're saying, probably punters will say that's an unders play, and probably against Manawatu, you're probably right. Because just purely my strategy, right, and the way I bet, that's not a bet that I will put all granny's pension on. But Otago actually, I have been very good to me. So like if I look at the season, in a whole, and I look at Otago's team against Manawatu's team, don't ask about coaches if that's not the point. I think right now, I think Otago are the better side. If this was like a year or two ago, cap would be much higher. If they had some of their other bigger players involved that they had previously, I would say they're in for a chance. I think it's going to be close. Otago are going to win. The cap is very well set. So for me, probably the value better is Otago 1-12. I think that's a great bet. And I do believe Otago are going to win, but not by more than 12. So for me, cap interesting, points. Yeah, you know, if you're going to put a gun to my head, I'll go over 46 every 9 out of 10 times. But Otago to win. Otago 1-12 is I think that's a great play. That's the value.
Yeah, that could be the way to go in this game. I do like Otago minus 2.5 a little bit.
I just worry about.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, Manawatu. Look, I mean, you got to, as I say, if you're going to back Otago to win,
Manawatu beat Otago in the last game, right? So that's why I'm just nervous of the handicap, because it could be a banana skin year. That's why I prefer the 1-12, because if Otago winning 9-10 points and then they score, it depends what you get, because as you say 2.5, I'm getting 3, right? It's at that edge, and I just think Otago will win, but I don't, no way I see them winning by more than 12. That I'm pretty sure of.
So the 1-12 would be the play there. You'd probably get a price of around about 16-10 there, so not a bad bet. That one. Next game, Chris, Taranaki against Southland. Here we got minus 14.5 Taranaki.
Is it 14 now? It was higher than that. So obviously money's come for Southland.
I'm only looking at one site. While you're talking, I'll go have a look at another site and just see if there's...
Yeah, it's just what I saw. I had 16 before the show when I was having a look around. So 14's interesting.
17.5 at Sunbet. So I was on player bets at 14.5, but there's 17.5 at Sunbet. So there's a big difference.
Yeah, you see. So that's what I thought. Yeah, that's interesting, because potentially you could find value in there. And there is value there if that's the case. But I'll be honest, I don't bet games with Southland. It's just purely my record with them, my history with them. Taranaki, they came out of house on fire. I'm sure a lot of the guys on the chat will like Taranaki in this game. They will win. Taranaki will win in this game. There's no doubt. But that cap is at that point where and Southland they have been a bit better. So I'm not getting the cap, Brent. This will be a no bet, because I know Taranaki are going to win, but that cap, if you want to get involved, interesting. I mean, if you can get a low Taranaki handicap, go for it. But 17, you're playing games, because if they go 25 points ahead, they could concede 2 tries in the last 5 minutes and win by 12, and you're dead.
Yeah, look, this game's at 3:00 in the morning South African time. I'm more than happy to join.
I agree.
Call a no bet on this one. Hawke's Bay against Tasman. This one's at 5:30 South African time. We've got Hawke's Bay minus 5.5 on Sunbet against Tasman. I'll quickly pop to player, and they're minus 3.5. So you've got some nice differences on the handicaps here, which is a punter's always nice. I would say Hawke's Bay, from what I've read up this week, I like Hawke's Bay at minus 3.5.
So absolutely. So that's interesting, because when I saw it was 6 as well, and because look, if you want to go in history, you want to go back in time a couple of years, Tasman are beaten Hawke's Bay probably by 6. But Hawke's Bay have been, and I'll be honest, Otago have done me well. Hawke's Bay have screwed me, because I didn't believe Hawke's Bay were as good as they are, and they are actually good. They are a bloody good nuggety side, and when I look at Tasman at 5, doesn't look like, in my head, it's like, this can't be right. If this was a year ago, it's Tasman minus, it's the other way around, right? So this is why this is a tough one. So for me, this won't be a handicap bet, because Tasman can win this game. Hawke's Bay should win the game. I want Hawke's Bay to win out of the story. I want them to beat Tasman, but I can see that there is good weather. And like other we'll go to Canterbury Waikato. that might become tight, like Manawatu, Togo might become tight, and unders is the right play, I think these teams are going to have a go. So I probably won't get involved in the cap because I believe Manawatu can win this game, but I think it's both teams are coming around 25 points each. So as a natural overs guy, this is the one NPC game where I think overs is looking good, and stay out of the cap. So if I get around for even 52, even 54, I'm probably going overs, to be honest, but not get involved in the cap.
Great. Okay, looking for points in that game. So we'll remember that. Saturday, is it? Saturday morning? Your Sunday morning? Yeah, Saturday morning. And then
all Saturday morning.
They're all Saturday. Waikato against Canterbury. Waikato plus 2.5 against Canterbury. You run into a bit of form. Yeah,
well, that's it, right? I'm a Canterbury guy, and I know I've seen all what's going on. I'm Canterbury. Waikato have been very impressive. This cap, again, is well set. I think it's right, absolutely right. I think it's a 2-3 point game either way. Then I look at the points. I want to get involved in points. But then Canterbury have been roped in, and so have Waikato, into slugfests. And where I see Hawke's Bay, Tasman being a little bit more free, I can see Waikato, Canterbury being tight. I think Canterbury will win. I've always liked Canterbury. Maybe that's an emotional biased opinion because Waikato have been good, but Waikato have dropped off form. So in form wise, what I can see, Canterbury are on the up. Waikato have, stabilized or maybe gone down, and then purely because I always think of Canterbury, and I know it's Super Rugby, it's not Super Rugby. If you want to talk about coaches, a lot of people harp about coaches. They're well coached. Hawke's Bay was a weird game. Your Canterbury have not won games they've won in the last couple of years. Tight game, Canterbury win, but I don't have any other view on that because it could be like a 20-20, it could be a 45-35. So I just think Canterbury will, where I see the form lines going, I see Canterbury winning.
Canterbury win there, right? So we just got the 4 NPC games this weekend. Thanks for
those. 1-12 again, another good bet if you want to go on value, right?
Yeah, 1-12, and certainly playoff games as well can be tight. Although you guys know my theory about the playoff games as well, is that quite often the minuses do arrive, or the team that gets out in front actually pulls ahead. But he's been sitting patiently for the NPC Bunnings chat, so let's bring Gavin in there. Gav, welcome. It's been good to have you back on the show. First of all, let's see if you can hit your first best bets.
Wow, it's a tough one this week, actually. It is. I like the
South Africa minus.
I like the New Zealand minus. I like the Argentina minus. That's 3 minuses already. I'm already scared. I like the Fiji plus. The French minus. I mean, here we go. We know minuses don't arrive like I'm suggesting, 4 out of 5 so far. I think the best bet's got to be South Africa. It's the one I would be the most confident with. The Australia plus, yes, it's up there. Second best bet after that, probably the Fiji one, but there's a big difference. I don't know. Yeah, South Africa
minus 4.5.
Well, I would even suggest go for a bit of value and take. I honestly think they'll win by more than 10. So take a -8 or a -9 or even a -7, get a bit of a price, and that's what I would do.
Right. Yeah, I know, Gav, that is your strategy. And it's actually interesting. I know Compost, who sometimes posts on the Good for the Game forum, he's got the same thing. He says, if you like a team, don't take the 9-10, take the 18-10, take the bigger line. And you've got other guys, and I mean, Chris is kind of, if I want to say the opposite, he tends to take the shorter line at the shorter price and maybe throw it in a multiple. I'd be very interested to...
Hahn does the same thing. He'll take 2 4-10s to make an even money shot.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to know if you... It'll be interesting to know if you took your best bet each week and you said, right, I can either bet I'll take it straight on the handicap, and then you take another scenario where you take the 2-1 on the bigger minus or the lesser plus, depending on the thing. And then you have the other scenario where you stick exactly the same stake on at 4-10. And over time, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe we'll run that experiment on the forum at some stage. But thanks for those best bets, Gab. Let's get Chris's best bets now.
I agree. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I think the caps are very, very, very well set this week. If you want my best bets on the cap, I did my Australia plus 12, just one of those bets where I looked at it straight away, and that's 7 points out. I like Australia. I understand they got injuries, I do, but plus 12 right now, this Oz team, England aren't as good as they think they are, I'm sorry to say. So plus 12. So I'm going to, as you guys might have realized, that these doubles and trebles are like where I've been going. I haven't been on good form with them lately, but when I look at this weekend, they will be the case. But Australia plus 12 for me is one of my very, very strong bets. And I like Ireland on the point. If you can get 20, if it's 24, I'm not so confident. If it's 21, probably 22, Ireland over 22 points.
I'm pretty confident you'll get lower than 24, because if you think of 10.5 handicap, if you get 24, it means New Zealand are 34, which means your total points line is 58.
I heard it was going to be I've heard it's going to be 46. So for me, it's 26 and 20, if that's the case.
In fact, it'll be more like 20. It'll be more like 28-18. So you'll definitely get your Ireland points line. You'll definitely get your Ireland points line.
So there we go. I'm happy to be proved wrong on Australia. I really am, but I just don't think that's the right cap for this spot with this game. Australia plus 12, Ireland over. Let's say the 20. Ireland over 20. Those are my two very, very strong best bets of the weekend.
Excellent. Well, my best bets will go out in the newsletter tomorrow. I'll certainly be listening to this part of the show again and seeing what the guys fancy. I must say, I am quite strong. I like Gavin's pick there of South Africa on the minus. I do think South Africa are going to take control of the game at some stage against Scotland. So I do like that. And as you guys know, you disagreed with me quite strongly, but I am quite bullish on Ireland plus 10.5. I just don't know. Yeah. I just don't know if I can go against New Zealand as a best bet.
Brent, but everyone was on Scotland last week, probably barring me. Why now Scotland going to beat Australia and now we're going to hammer Scotland? Why, from where?
Because we better.
What's going to be different that we hammer Scotland?
I think they were lucky in the end, that's all.
Yeah, I thought the result favored Scotland a little bit. I also think, like what I said, the reason I went for Wales was I thought the box would be a bit rusty. Hadn't played in a while coming out there. And I think, to me, they did show a little bit of rust there. So I just think, look, it's not, as I say, I just think at 4.5, I'm starting to find value in the box. Now, I do think, I look at that bench and I think they're going to take control. I mean, the reality with the Scottish scrum, they were very good against Australia. And Australia were perhaps a bit disappointing in the scrums there. But if you look at that South African scrum against Wales, it was absolutely dominant. And ultimately, you got to look at it. Yes, he's a good player, old Schoolman and that, but there's a reason he's playing for Scotland and not the box, and that's because he wouldn't make the box side. That's a fact. So I'm going Springboks minus, and I'll probably be looking at Ireland on the plus there, but I'll mull over that overnight. But gents, thanks very much to all the boys who joined us in the live chat. It's always great to have you on. Great contributions. And I didn't think we'd have such a long show tonight, but I guess we certainly chatted for over an hour. And it's been good to have you on, Chris. Enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing your doubles on Twitter.
Well, they haven't been on good form, but they're coming back. They're coming back this weekend. Here we go.
And Gav, yourself, I also look forward to, I'm sure, having a chat with you over the weekend. Good luck with your new show now, which is at 8 o'clock. I think it is on a Wednesday night. You and Mike Greenway last time talking about streakers. The guys can go and have a look for that one. And I look forward to chatting to you a little bit on the weekend there, and let's hope we're both right about the South Africans. Thanks, everyone. Till next week, Thursday night, 9 o'clock for the handicap. Have a cracking weekend, and let's hit the bookies hard.